Ever feel like you're kind of on autopilot?
Autopilot.
Yeah, like going through the motions,
Yeah.
but there's this undercurrent just sweeping you along.
Yeah.
Well, get this. That feeling might be onto something. You sent in this Jason Statham video to Live an Examined Life.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And it dives into this wild idea
Yeah.
of the path of least resistance.
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't just use it in the usual way, like, oh, just taking the easy way out.
Yeah.
Statham argues it's like the fundamental principle behind how everything unfolds. The universe, our lives, everything.
Yeah, he takes it to the limit, that's for sure. So how does he get there? Because that's a pretty bold claim.
It is. It is.
To say the least.
Well, it starts with this analogy. Think of a ball rolling down a hill.
Okay.
Naturally follows the easiest route, right?
Right.
Statham suggests our lives are kind of like that, too. We're always moving toward what he calls minimizing energy expenditure.
Energy.
Hold on. By energy, he doesn't mean like how many calories we're burning, right? It's something bigger than that.
Way bigger.
So what is energy in this context?
Think of it as a metaphor.
Okay.
For all those forces that kind of influence our choices.
Like what?
Your desires, your fears, childhood experiences, societal expectations, even.
Oh, wow.
Even things happening on a neurological level.
Stuff we don't even realize.
That we're totally unaware of. All of that factors into this energy.
Okay, that's starting to click a little bit.
Okay.
So even when we think we're making carefully calculated decisions,
Yeah.
Statham's saying there's this whole web of influences
Right.
steering us towards a certain path, the path of least resistance.
Exactly. He argues our lives are unfolding along this trajectory based on this complex interplay of energy.
Wow.
Even if we don't consciously realize it.
Wow. So if we're always on this preordained track,
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean free will is just an illusion?
Right. Are we really in control or are we just along for the ride?
Exactly.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And Statham, to his credit, he doesn't shy away from it. But instead of getting stuck debating, whether or not we have control, he suggests we shift our focus.
Oh, okay. To what?
To living an examined life.
Living an examined life. Okay, I'm intrigued, but I'm also a little, wary when I hear that. Does that mean we just give up and accept whatever happens?
Right.
Become passive observers in our own lives?
Not at all. It's not about, just kind of giving up and being passive. It's about a shift in perspective.
Okay.
Imagine trying to steer a raft down a river by sheer force of will.
Okay.
And constantly battling the current.
Right. Exhausting.
Tiring? Yeah, exactly. Statham's idea of an examined life is more like learning to read those currents, understanding the natural flow.
Instead of just fighting it.
We can become more conscious participants in our journey.
I like that.
Even if we can't control every single twist and turn.
I like that analogy a lot.
Yeah.
So how do we actually do that? How do we become more aware of these underlying currents, the ones that are shaping our lives?
It starts with paying attention to our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, even our recurring patterns.
Yeah, those are sometimes the hardest to spot, right?
Absolutely. They're insidious, those recurring patterns.
They really are.
But yeah, why do we react certain ways in certain situations? What are the underlying beliefs maybe, or experiences even, that might be influencing our choices? We've got to kind of dig into that a little bit.
So it's like becoming a detective in our own lives.
Precisely. And instead of judging ourselves for our choices, we kind of approach this self-discovery with curiosity,
Like with a sense of wonder.
Yeah. The goal isn't to change who we are, it's to understand ourselves better.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how understanding this whole path of least resistance thing, can help us kind of make sense of our lives.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put it into practice? It still feels kind of abstract.
It's about turning that observation inward,
Okay. Statham leaves us with this question, really. He says, if we are on this path, how can we become more conscious participants? How do we examine our lives without judging?
Right.
But with curiosity and acceptance.
It's one thing to sort of intellectually grasp this concept of a predetermined path, but it's another to actually live it. How do we bridge that gap?
Yeah. It's a practice, It's not like you arrive at a destination.
Right.
It's not like, okay, I'm living an examined life. Done.
Right. It's not like that. Think about those moments when you feel that resistance, when things aren't going your way.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting against the current, what if you just kind of paused?
Okay.
took a step back and said, what's the lesson here? What's pushing back? What can I learn from this?
So those challenges, those moments of friction, maybe they're not really roadblocks, but opportunities for us to grow a little bit,
Yeah.
like detours that are actually putting us on a more fulfilling path, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
There you go. Maybe the path of least resistance isn't always easy, or comfortable,
Right.
but it's always leading us somewhere. And by learning to read the signs, so to speak,
Right.
those feelings, those patterns, those external circumstances, we can navigate all those twists and turns with a little more grace, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a real mind bender. So instead of trying to like force our lives to fit into some predetermined mold,
Hmm.
maybe it's more about understanding those natural currents that are already at play and learning to kind of move with them and not against them.
Yeah, yeah, beautifully said. And who knows, maybe by surrendering to that flow a little bit more, we might discover that the path of least resistance leads to some pretty incredible places.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the path of least resistance. It's definitely given us all a lot to think about.